Chicago, a city of steel and glass, a city built on ambition, industry, and innovation. From the shores of Lake Michigan rise some of the most recognizable skyscrapers in the world. Millions visit every year. Millions more call it home. Yet for decades, Chicago has carried a reputation that refuses to fade. Dangerous, violent, out of control. News headlines repeat the same words. Politicians point fingers. Social media amplifies fear. But how much of this reputation is based on reality? And how much is perception? Tonight, we take a deep, data-driven look inside the Windy City, beyond the headlines, beyond the stereotypes, to understand why Chicago is considered one of America's most dangerous cities, and more importantly, what the numbers actually say. Chicago is the third largest city in the United States. Nearly 2.7 million people live within its city limits. Every day, millions commute. Thousands of flights pass overhead. Billions of dollars move through its economy. Yet Chicago is not one city. It is 77 community areas, each with its own story, income level, and history. Some areas feel safer than many European cities. Others experience violence at levels comparable to war zones, block by block. This unevenness is critical. When crime happens in Chicago, it doesn't spread evenly. It concentrates. And concentration creates reputation. More than 9 million across the metropolitan area. It is a city of extremes. On one street, luxury condos, Michelin star restaurants, and corporate headquarters. On another, abandoned buildings, underfunded schools, and streets shaped by decades of disinvestment. These contrasts are not accidental. Chicago's history is deeply tied to segregation, redlining, industrial decline, and unequal access to opportunity, factors that still shape the city today. To understand crime in Chicago, you must first understand where crime happens and why. Violence in Chicago is not evenly distributed. In fact, a small number of neighborhoods account for a disproportionate share of shootings and homicides, while many parts of the city experience crime levels similar to, or even lower than, other major U.S. cities. Yet when violence happens here, it happens loudly, and it travels far beyond city limits. Let's move past emotion and into the data. Chicago tracks crime across several categories: homicide, aggravated assault, robbery, sexual assault, burglary, and theft. When people talk about Chicago being dangerous, they are almost always referring to violent crime, especially homicide and gun violence. Historically, Chicago has recorded high total numbers of murders each year, often between 500 and 800 in recent decades. This is a key reason for the city's reputation, but total numbers can be misleading. Chicago is a massive city. When adjusted for population, murders per 100,000 residents, Chicago often ranks below several other U.S. cities. Cities like St. Louis, Baltimore, New Orleans, and Detroit frequently record higher per capita homicide rates. So why does Chicago dominate the conversation? Because of scale, visibility, and consistency. Chicago doesn't spike occasionally. It sustains violence year after year in specific areas, creating a constant stream of headlines. If there is one statistic that defines Chicago's crime problem, it is this: the overwhelming majority of homicides involve firearms. In many years, 80 to 90% of murders in Chicago are committed with a gun. Gun violence shapes daily life in affected neighborhoods. It determines where people walk, when children play outside, how businesses operate, whether residents trust law enforcement. Shootings in Chicago are often concentrated in specific blocks, not entire neighborhoods. In some areas, a few streets experience repeated violence, driven by gang conflicts, retaliation cycles, illegal gun trafficking, poverty, and lack of opportunity. These cycles can last for years. A single shooting can trigger multiple retaliations, pulling entire families and communities into a chain reaction that is incredibly difficult to stop. The human cost of violence in Chicago is not evenly shared. Young men, particularly from Black and Latino communities, are disproportionately represented as both victims and perpetrators. This is not about race. It is about environment, access, and history. Decades of segregation, underinvestment, and broken trust between communities and institutions have created conditions where violence becomes normalized, not accepted, but expected. Behind every statistic is a person, a son, a daughter, a parent, a friend. Entire neighborhoods live with trauma that never makes the news. Chicago's crime problem exists, but its reputation is often amplified beyond reality. National media frequently singles out Chicago as a symbol, especially during political debates over gun laws and public safety. The city becomes shorthand for failure. Yet when violence drops, headlines are quiet. When violence rises, the cameras return. This selective attention creates a distorted image, one where Chicago appears uniquely dangerous, even when data suggests otherwise. Fear spreads faster than facts. In many parts of Chicago, violence is no longer shocking, it is expected. Gunshots at night do not always send people running. Police sirens no longer stop conversations. Yellow tape has become part of the landscape. This normalization is one of the most dangerous elements of all. When violence becomes routine, it loses urgency. When it loses urgency, it becomes permanent. Children learn to identify gunfire before they learn multiplication. Parents memorize which streets are safe and which are not. Entire communities adjust their lives around danger, not because they accept it, but because survival demands adaptation. One of the most critical drivers of continued violence in Chicago is the low clearance rate for violent crime. Clearance rate refers to how often crimes, especially homicides, are solved. In many years, nearly half of all murders in Chicago go unsolved. This has devastating consequences. When killers are not caught, families never receive justice. Communities lose faith. Retaliation becomes the default response. If the system does not deliver accountability, people seek it themselves. This fuels cycles of revenge that can last for generations. Violence becomes self-sustaining. Most shootings in Chicago are not random, they are connected. A single shooting can spark a revenge shooting, which triggers another retaliation, which escalates further. This creates invisible chains of violence, stretching across months or years. Often, those involved are not original participants. They are brothers, friends, neighbors. Entire networks become locked into conflict. And once a cycle begins, stopping it requires intervention, not just enforcement. Trust is the foundation of public safety. In Chicago, trust has been damaged repeatedly. High-profile cases of police misconduct, allegations of corruption, years of strained relationships. When residents do not trust law enforcement, witnesses refuse to cooperate, crimes remain unsolved, criminals feel emboldened. Fear replaces cooperation, and fear makes cities dangerous. This breakdown of trust is not easily repaired, and its absence fuels continued violence. Chicago is enormous, geographically and demographically. Policing a city of this size presents unique challenges: thousands of calls per day, staffing shortages, officer fatigue, morale issues. In high-crime areas, police are often overwhelmed. Response times increase, preventive policing declines. Officers react instead of preventing. This reactive system allows violence to flourish between interventions, and every delay costs lives. Even when arrests are made, the system is far from finished. Chicago's court system faces case backlogs, delays in prosecution, witness intimidation, dismissed charges. Justice delayed is justice denied. When offenders return to the streets quickly, it sends a message: violence has limited consequences. This perception, whether accurate or not, encourages repeat offenses, and public confidence erodes further. In many high-crime neighborhoods, young people grow up surrounded by danger. Opportunities feel distant. Stability feels temporary. The future feels uncertain. In this environment, violence becomes a means of protection, a source of identity, a response to fear. Young men, in particular, face pressure to project strength. Backing down can be seen as weakness. Weakness invites danger. This creates a culture where conflict escalates quickly, often with deadly consequences. Education is one of the strongest predictors of safety, yet many of Chicago's most violent neighborhoods also struggle with underfunded schools, high dropout rates, limited extracurricular programs. When schools fail, streets take over. Idle time becomes dangerous time. Without strong educational pathways, young people are left vulnerable to recruitment into violent networks. And the cycle continues. Stability also matters. But in Chicago, many families experience frequent displacement, evictions, housing insecurity. Constant movement disrupts. When neighborhoods lack stability, informal control breaks down. Strangers replace neighbors. Trust disappears. Violence increases. Danger thrives where roots cannot grow. Fear changes behavior. People avoid certain streets. Businesses close early. Public spaces empty out. This abandonment gives violent actors more control. Fear becomes a weapon, and once fear spreads, it is difficult to contain. Chicago's reputation amplifies this effect. Even in neighborhoods that are statistically safe, even when violence declines, perception lags behind reality. Why? Because progress is gradual. Violence is sudden. Fear spreads faster than facts. A single shooting can undo months of improvement in the public mind. Chicago is often compared to other cities, sometimes unfairly. While some cities experience higher per capita violence, Chicago's size magnifies impact. It becomes the symbol, not because it is uniquely broken, but because it is uniquely visible. Being labeled dangerous has consequences. Businesses hesitate to invest. Tourism suffers. Residents feel stigmatized. This limits opportunity, which increases risk. The label reinforces the very conditions that sustain violence. Chicago's future is undecided. Progress exists, effort exists, hope exists, but so do entrenched systems, trauma, and fear. Breaking the cycle requires long-term investment, trust, rebuilding patience, honesty. There are no shortcuts. Chicago is not at war with crime. It is at war with history, with inequality, with broken systems. Danger here is not random. It is constructed, layer by layer. And dismantling it will take more than force. It will take understanding. Chicago is not defined by its violence, but neither can that violence be ignored. Understanding why Chicago is considered dangerous means confronting uncomfortable truths and rejecting easy answers. Because behind every statistic is a life, and behind every reputation is a reality far more complex than a headline. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, and click on the notification button for more video like this.